everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Black-Liberation.Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renée Jordan, and today I'm going to take a moment to reintroduce myself by playing back an introduction video that I did for a group of students last summer. I have been invited to do a workshop for another set of students this summer, and I'm very excited. And so I said, well, you know what? Maybe now will be a good time to reintroduce myself to those who are new to the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast so you can learn a little bit more about me as I prepare for the next group of students. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Renée Jordan. So let's start with a moment that changed everything for me. Right before I started high school, my mom pulled me aside and said, if you want to go to college, you're going to have to get a scholarship. That moment stuck with me and I took it seriously. And as a result, I made sure from that point on that I worked hard in school. I focused on my grades, my test scores, and everything I needed to reach my goal. Now let's talk about how I got into tech and education. My journey started in second grade. I was in a STEM magnet program, which means I got to learn more about science, tech, and engineering and math than other kids my age. The summer before 9th and 10th grade, I participated in a week-long STEM program at George Washington University. And as a result, I really wanted to go to GW, and I knew they had high standards. So taking into consideration the requirements for their school, that's how I planned out my high school classes. So I pushed myself. In the end, I got accepted to every school that I applied to. However, I did select Hood College over GW because they gave me more money. Now, the summer before my senior year of high school, through Howard University STEM program, I shadowed a Black IT person who worked in the help desk at the U.S. Department of Energy. That's when I started to understand how tech helps people solve problems. In college, I worked in the IT department as a part of my work study. I helped people with tech problems, mostly on the user side, like setting up email, fixing computer issues, printer issues, or explaining how to use different tools. Now, although I was working in IT in undergraduate school, I was actually in school for biology, and I wanted to become a medical doctor. However, after graduation, I had the opportunity to work at Georgetown University, and I walked by a med school classroom and there was a cadaver covered in a sheet. I ran. That was the end of the medical school pursuit for me, and my mom encouraged me to become a biology teacher, and so I did. I taught high school biology for a total of 7 years. I started to ask more questions, and so there was a big question that came to mind. Who decides what we learn in school? That question led me to a master's degree in education, followed by a master's degree in public policy. And then I had the opportunity, because I continued to apply for positions, to become the instructional technologist at Morehouse College. Now, I didn't hear that title at all during career day, but it allowed me to do what I did best. In that case was help people with technology. In this case, I was helping faculty members and students use technology better to support teaching and learning. When someone said, hey, you really should get a PhD in something you love, I decided on instructional technology. So I kept going to school at Georgia State. I earned a PhD in instructional technology. That's where I focused on the intersection of technology, culture, and design. So all along my journey, I'm supporting people in tech. All along my journey, I'm helping people get things done in their area of STEM or other disciplines in order to enhance learning and research for students to help them get to where they want to be. And that's my ultimate goal and the desire with everything that I do. And here's something else that's pretty cool about me. I actually added art as a minor in college on purpose. You can say that my art classes were counterweights to my science classes. They helped me stay grounded and not feel overwhelmed. Now, before having that aha moment, I wanted to have chemistry as my minor. But by the fall of my junior year, I found myself stressed out. It was too much for me to do both, to take all those science classes at once. And as a result, I got sick. One of my friends looked at my neck and said, hey, Renée, are you okay? I had a goiter on my neck. And as a result of stress, I lost 40 pounds. Now, that was when I needed to say time out, and I actually left school on medical leave. And because the instructors that I had in previous courses, two of them were my advisor, my freshman and sophomore advisor, and then my major advisor. And they recognized I wasn't doing as well as my capabilities based on their history with me. And so when I needed to withdraw from class, I had to take a sheet around and have them sign off whether I was withdrawing successfully or failing. Although I was essentially failing at that point because I shared, hey, I'm sick, I need to go home and reset and take care of myself. They signed off that I withdrew successfully, and I was able to return the following semester and experience better success by balancing out my schedule. That summer, I took a summer full of art classes. So 4 art classes, 2 in one session and 2 in the next session. And I was able to explore those things that I love, that I just did for fun, if you will. So photography, drawing, painting. So all of that on top of my science allowed me to have a better balance from that point on. People are built differently. They express themselves differently. They need to create balance in their life differently. For one person, it could be different types of sciences. For me, I needed to go into another discipline so that I had something that was still a challenge. Don't knock it until you try it. Ceramics is not a small thing, and it takes work, physical work, to get it done. And so I want to offer to some who may find themselves being overwhelmed to find some counterbalances, some alternatives for you to do. As a result of my liberal arts background and my art background, later on in my career, while I was an instructional technologist, I had the opportunity to not only serve biology teachers, because that's what I was doing as a high school teacher. I was helping both biology and chemistry teachers with the tech that we had. When I became an instructional technologist at Morehouse College, I was able to work with art teachers, Chinese studies, economics, as well as Africana studies, and help them to bring technology into their classroom. Even my research is a mix of different things. When I was working on my PhD, I started by looking at experiences of Black women in tech, but I ended up including Latinas too because of the school I wanted to do my dissertation project in. As a result of the makeup of that school, it would have been a disservice for me not to acknowledge what Latinas also bring to the table. Now, I want to talk about my community. The truth is, I didn't do it alone. I've had a whole tribe of people cheering me on, supporting me, and helping me grow. Let me tell you about them. First, my family has always been a big part of my journey. My dad and one of my brothers even came to my first conference presentation, and that meant a lot to me. Both my grandmothers, along with my parents, showed me what it means to do the work in your community. They didn't just talk about service, they lived it. Another big part of my community was my church. I sang in the choir for 25 years. Yes, 25 years. That's where I built my confidence in public speaking, found creative joy, and experienced real teamwork. We even won the DC regional part of the How Sweet the Sound national competition, and we made it to Los Angeles for the nationals. We didn't win, but it was an incredible journey along the way. My Sunday school classes were also always a support to me, both in Maryland and in Georgia. Then there were mentors and advisors, people who helped shape my academic and research journey. Dr. Janice Vernelier, who was my qualitative research professor and served as my co-chair and introduced me to African philosophies as an option when it came to doing the work of research. Dr. Brendan Calandra, my advisor, who was also the department chair, he supported me as I served as a graduate research assistant, and he let me use data from our projects for conference proposals. And as a result, I was able to present at least 10 times across the nation and even internationally in Mexico on the work that I did with him. Dr. Tudolini Asino, he also was a part of my dissertation committee and served as an expert as it related to not only instructional design and instructional technology, but also culture and design. How do those things impact how we teach and learn? Dr. Patricia Young was someone I looked up to for years. I read her work, and when I finally met her, she gave me advice and homework as it related to into defining the problem that I wanted to address with my dissertation. Dr. Joyce E. King, she introduced me to Sylvia Winter in my social foundations class, which changed how I thought about education and culture. I also had friends and peers who really came through for me. One friend from a teacher training program encouraged me to go into public policy as a career path. I was a part of a research group of mostly Black women. I referred to it as the Underground Graduate Railroad. They were a lifeline for sharing ideas and staying motivated. I collaborated with other PhD students from different schools on conference presentations, and I had friends who just listened. When I had writer's block or doubts, they were there with support, meals, and pep talks. Even coworkers played a role. They reminded me of my value, helped me recognize my skill, and encouraged me to go after opportunities I might have missed. And finally, being a part of professional organizations and attending conferences helped me to meet incredible people. I got to review papers, serve as a chair, and talk to experts. Those experiences gave me confidence and opened so many doors. So how do I use what I've learned to help others? Black-Liberation.Tech is an open educational resource, fancy words for a free learning platform. I'm building out lessons, a podcast, and tools you can use to explore career options, learn AI, and develop your own path. I share this content in both English and Spanish to make sure people can access it. Everything that I do, in short, is to help others grow and find their way. So what's the lesson in all of this? Life doesn't always go as planned, but if you stay curious, stay persistent, and keep showing up, you'll find your way. You'll find people who support you, moments that shape you, and opportunities you never expect. So what would I say to Black youth about representation in tech? First, don't wait for someone to hand you a path. Make your own. Be curious. Look things up. Ask questions. Watch videos. If nobody teaches you, teach yourself. That's how I learned most of the things that I know when it comes to tech. Second, build your community. Look for folks who share your interests, whether it's tech, music, art, gaming, or all of the above. Find your people and grow together. Third, put yourself out there. Submit to conferences, apply to programs. Don't say no for them. Let them tell you no. And if they do, try again. That's how you win. Fourth, know that your life experiences matter. The way you grew up, the things you've seen, the people you love, they shape how you see the world. And we need those perspectives in tech. Now let's talk about Afrofuturism. I believe tech should serve communities, not just big companies. And we need more voices, our voices at the table to make that happen. That's why I use African philosophies like Ubuntu, which means I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am. It reminds us that we rise together. I bring that into how I design learning tools, build programs, and create content. Through Black-Liberation.Tech, I want to create a kind of ecosystem, a space where people can learn digital skills, use AI tools in ways that make sense for them, and feel supported every step of the way. From creating rubrics to planning events, AI can help lighten the mental load and give us more time for what matters. So here's my advice to you. Don't wait for someone else to open the door. Build your own. Stay curious, look things up, and ask questions. Find your people and grow together. Apply to everything and let them tell you no. And know this, you have something to offer. You belong in these spaces, in these STEAM spaces. You are smart enough, creative enough, and powerful enough to shape our future, whether it's through STEAM, storytelling, community work, or something that doesn't even exist yet. Your voice matters. So go build something, ask that question, try again, and keep showing up. Because if I can do it, you can absolutely do it, and in your own amazing, unique way. With all that being said, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Black-Liberation.Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Renée Jordan. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share, rate, and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.